Let's talk about Laurie Cox Daybell. Yes, law enforcement can have the Chad under constant surveillance, satellite-wise. Everything he says and does, even, down to picking his nose, should be being recorded and analysed. The thing is, though, the Chad is not going to lead law enforcement to the children. He's not going to lead law enforcement to Tylee and JJ. So what do law enforcement have? Well, they have Laurie Cox Daybell in custody as the key to everything. Laurie can tell law enforcement anything they want to know about all of these cases that don't add up, and particularly obviously about where her children are, and that is whether on the off chance they are being kept somewhere alive or where their bodies are. And I think most of us probably would feel we have to believe that these poor children are deceased. So Laurie needs to be red-pilled. On the internet, I think I'm pretty safe to say I was the first one to bring up the concept of the Chad and Laurie as a case of folie à deux. And usually what you might have is when the imposer and the acceptor are separated, the acceptor will come with help and coaxing, but sometimes even just on their own over a course of a few weeks, will come back to reality and will lose their psychosis, lose those symptoms, and lose those the delusions and odd beliefs, and come back to earth, I guess. So what we have with Laurie, though, is a very unusual, very specific problem, because Laurie needs to be red-pilled, and we all know what this means is waking up out of a false, comfortable, just this type of reality where we don't understand how sinister our world really is. Laurie is going to be red-pilled, deprogrammed, red-pilled into an absolute nightmare, isn't she? So this is very, very... Sorry, my fridge just started cooling. Maybe you can't hear it. Red-pilled into a bloody nightmare. So it's difficult for her because she's not going to want to come out of it. Usually, a cult member coming out of this sort of group psychosis or out of this programming, it's hard enough as it is, because when they awaken, there's so many fears that they come into anyway, that they'll never be enlightened, that there's so much doom and gloom, they'll never be at peace, there's no more magical thinking, they're not going to be world saviors anymore, they're not living a righteous path anymore, everything's going to seem dull, godless, soulless, meaningless. They're going to look at others as an affront. They're going to see others as, lacking spirituality, lacking meaning, being lazy, being undisciplined. This is the world that they're coming into anyway. So Laurie's not only leaving some pretty spooky programming, but she's coming into a world where she has to face cold, hard facts of what she's done. Not that she's releasing people from dark into light, releasing their souls, but facing the cold, hard human facts of murder and mayhem. So, what an absolute, it's a clusterfuck. It really is. And I don't know about law enforcement procedures, obviously, but to me it just seems like, well, is Laurie just in there as any other prisoner on remand or whatever, going through her daily routine, speaking to her lawyer, just having meals, going to sleep, waking up? Or are there teams of people psychologically breaking down Laurie? Because the children deserve these resources being used. They deserve Laurie to have people at her day and night. It doesn't matter if you think she doesn't deserve psychological help and attention. Well, she needs it, and she does deserve it, in the sense that she does need to be awakened, and Tylee and JJ need to be found, and Laurie can tell people. Without help in deprogramming, I mean, it's going to be taking a lot longer for Laurie, because she's got that separation from the Chad, so she's not getting that, she's not stuck in that loop with him any longer, but she's still very powerfully connected and has very much reason to do so, which is her guilty knowledge, her guilt, the crimes that she's committed, basically. So on her own, though, how can we tell she's coming out of this? What should the prison guards, what should people that are in contact with that Laurie daily be looking out for, so that they know they should be really digging in there about this? Well, okay, so if she's not going to tell them the thoughts that she's having, if she's not going to express to them the doubts and her realizations about what she's really done, what's position she's really in, she's going to be expressing physical symptoms of panic attack, because panic attacks are a common symptom, I guess, of deprogramming. So yes, panic attacks can be something that you wouldn't really know what someone's going through and experiencing if they don't tell you, because a lot of it might be mental, but a lot of it's actually physical. You're going to have, I wrote down, so if Laurie is not getting the deprogramming and guidance she needs, then how else can law enforcement tell Laurie is separating psychologically from the Chad? And it's by panic, because some of the symptoms are physical. So sweating, trembling, dizzy spells, chest pain. She might say that she feels like she's choking. She could be having nausea. They're going to know she's having nausea. Is she vomiting? Is she unsteady? Does she experience numbing sensations? Is she getting hot and cold? I mean, Laurie's probably going through menopause. I can tell you now, if you have a bad menopause, you are having a bad life, and you think you're crazy anyway. You feel out of control. You can have nightmares. You do have the most terrible panic attacks, hot, cold flashes and things like that. That could be part of why she was psychologically vulnerable. It could also, I guess, be masking panic attacks, or it could be misconstrued as panic attacks. Anywho, that's what I would be expecting to see that she's actually feeling. And she's got a lot of triggers that are going to be causing panic attacks. I'd be very surprised if she's not having some. And flashbacks are causing these panic attacks. And yeah, it's got to be a real nightmare. And what do you do to protect yourself from these flashbacks, apart from just experiencing PTSD and experiencing panic attacks? But then comes, dissociation, and this experience of everything is unreal, being separated, being, that floating experience. So, you know, you usually you would be expecting by now Laurie is coming out of this herself and she's experiencing these things. If not, I think, you know, get in there, law enforcement, and force this out of her. Red pill her, because Tylee and JJ deserve it. Yeah. Because the physical tools that law enforcement have, maybe they've already been analysed to bits. This is the phone of Tylee, maybe. I mean, what sort of things can they do to trace Laurie's movements? And I'm sure they're doing that, Laurie and Chad and Alex and anyone involved. They should be tracing Zulema. They should be tracing Melanie Gibb. Melanie Gibb knew that her life was in danger, and there's a reason for that. I don't think it's just because she knew about Chad and Laurie's affair. I think she's been given small roles to play, small parts, small tasks, and she's done them. And I think that's why she's afraid, or was afraid. I think she thinks now, oh well, look, Chad's being watched, everyone's being watched, I'm safe. Who knows if she truly is. But yeah, Melanie Gibb does have guilty knowledge of things, and I think she's actually physically done things, whether it's, yeah, she's done Laurie's bidding a few times. Don't think for a second that Melanie is a very long-term friend either. That is not the case. This is a good friend, supposedly Laurie's friend, but it's the one and only, and she's new. She's from 2018. She's from Preparing the People, and yeah, you can sort of see how they clicked instantly and made friends, and especially through their spiritual beliefs as well. But Melanie Gibb, I believe, she's been used, or she's done bidding in her desire to fit in with these two, and under the guise of friendship and under the guise of being special as well. And I think she's got a lot of shame. I think she's feeling shame. And don't start me on Melanie Boudreau-Pawlowski, because there's a woman with guilty knowledge. Melanie knows. Melanie knows. Yeah, so what are law enforcement getting out of these people, though? Out of the Chad, out of Zulema, out of Melanie Pawlowski, out of Melanie Gibb, out of Julie Rowe, out of it. It appears to be jack shit. Chad is not in prison. We all know that's where he needs to be. And they need to really utilise the tool of Laurie. She does need support, and she does need attention. And don't get down on me for that, because I'm saying that because she needs to be brought out of this quick, smart, and that's how they're going to find these kids. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to chat about. You know, this really is just American Gothic. This is the most, I mean, it's so, if it wasn't real, and if it wasn't involving real people's lives and everything, I mean, it is fascinating. And anywho, thanks for listening. What do you think? I mean, who thinks that Melanie Pawlowski knows everything that's going on? Yeah, who thinks she probably knows actually where these children are, where they passed, or you know, who did what? I mean, she is a freaking mess, that girl. And Melanie Gibb, yeah, slick. She's slick. I mean, you can tell that, you know, she really enjoyed the podcasts. She would have loved being pulled along by Laurie and Chad, because, you know, she wanted to be special and have people come to her and listen to her, and I'd say she wants to revitalize that side of her life, and I think she just needs to tuck herself away, because we don't want to hear what she believes, if it's anything outside of the LSD even, you know what I'm, because she's been part of the whackness, and what she has to say can only be whack. I think it's more than her just knowing about Chad and Laurie's affair and being frightened because of that. I think there's shame and guilt alive and well in Melanie Gibb about these kids, whether it's just because she's a fucking patsy, you know. Anywho, sorry, just rambling. I'll speak to you all later. But yeah, I'd love to know your theories. Why is Chad not arrested yet? I mean, obviously, it's complicated and they can't just risk him having to be released again. But, you know, let's hope it's not too long before justice is served.